take this opportunity to thank the Wickliffe Health System and Physicians Hospital for partnering.
You're listening to a broadcast of the Prairie Grove Tigers at pgtigersonline.com.
You are looking live from Eagle Stadium in Huntsville, Arkansas for the conference opener tonight for the Prairie Grove Tigers versus the Huntsville Eagles. I'm Lynn Gregson, with me Ryan Cook. Ryan, tonight's the opening contest for conference tonight. We're going to join the national anthem. We got on a little late. We're going to join the national anthem. We'll be back and talk about tonight's game. Okay, Ryan, now we're back. We got on the air just a little late tonight. The production crew decided to hit a little Mexican food tonight and got backed up in line, so we're just a little late coming on the air. We're welcoming you to tonight's contest. Conference opener tonight with Huntsville. Ryan, when I walked in here tonight, my thoughts went back to a couple of years ago when we walked in here and the emotions that night. Recount that for us just a little bit.
Well, we had two events at the time, one for each school. Huntsville had lost a young lady in a car accident right before 2 years ago when we were playing here. Shelby, you still see several people wearing the Shelby Show shirts for Huntsville, and then we had just got the diagnosis of cancer for Jaren Sorters, and so we had a balloon release, and we had the lady share a little bit about Shelby, and so a lot of emotions that night to start the game. You know, we're 2 years past that, 1 year since the passing of Jaren, and still you see a lot of the connection. And, you know, Jaren's girlfriend went to Huntsville, and so there was a lot of connection there between us, and you still see a lot of show of support for both schools, from both schools.
You're right, and that's a good thing, and that's what I love about high school sports is that you have competition, but there's also, especially in Northwest Arkansas, a great community amongst them. Well, tonight's captains, looks like we got James Mayers is one of our captains. Joe Reynolds looks like one of the captains, as well as Stormy Hankins, and I believe, is that 56 Ben Beeson there?
Ben Beeson.
So that's our captains for tonight. Ryan, let's talk about the contest tonight. You know, it's funny, in the 90s, Huntsville played Prairie Grove and beat them 8 out of 10 times in the 90s. Huntsville at one time, very powerful football program, is still a good football program, but has fallen a little bit more on hard times over the last few years. Since that time, though, in 1999, Prairie Grove won a contest 20-0, and since then they've played 10 times. They haven't played every year because we hadn't always been in the same conference or even in the same classification. But we've played 10 years since then, and Prairie Grove now winning 10 straight, looking for number 11 tonight.
Yeah, I can remember playing here myself. You know, back then they had the Samples brothers. I said this 2 years ago. It was like every time you turned around, there was a different sample at quarterback and at point guard, and they had, you know, some really quality teams. We had battles. There was not one team that necessarily had the advantage in that time frame. I don't remember. It was just battles.
Well, yeah, and you know what? I think tonight we will have a little bit of a potential battle as well. If you remember last year, Ryan, they came to our house. They kicked off to us. We fumbled the ball. They get the ball, our 28-yard line. They get down around the 10.
I don't remember. I was gone. I'm sorry. I was at Jerry World last year for the Razorback game.
Well, then they did. They fumbled around the 10-yard line. We got the ball back. Jet Johnson goes 68 yards for a touchdown. And then after that, we ended up, really taking it to them at that point for the remainder of the game, and ended up with a victory.
Well, last year was new because they had a new coach. Tice had retired, and so they had a new coach, new offense. And so, one, we probably didn't execute as well, but two, you're learning them. And so I remember talking about it, and they went from a wing T look to more of a traditional powerhouse running game. I think I've heard they're more of a pro style this year where they're going to be under center for a lot of things, and then they're going to back up into the shotgun and do a little movement. So we're going to see, I think it's evolving what Huntsville offense is now.
You know what, Ryan, over the last, since let's see here, I lost my notes there. The average score from about 14 until last year, from 6 till then, the average score was 41-12, and our score last year was 41-12. I don't know if that'll be that way tonight. Hopefully it'll be that kind of game for us.
Huntsville is not picked to be in. They're kind of in that 4th or 5th. Can they compete to get in that playoff spot? I mean, that's consensus. That's not being rude. That's the consensus around the league. Is you have your Lincolns, Gentry, Huntsville. All of them are kind of competing for that next spot outside of the Prairie Grove, Shiloh, and Pea Ridge battle up at the top 3.
Yeah,
they'll grab it in there too.
There's the big 3, but if you're Huntsville and you could steal one from one of the big 3,
you'd be in the money.
You'd have a good shot. Huntsville did go to the playoffs last year, went down to Gosnell. We were talking to the guys from Huntsville about that earlier, and so that, they're trying to make it back again. And that's when you have tough times in a program, and Huntsville's had some winning and losing. Winning breeds winning.
That's right.
Prairie Grove for a long time, had a tough time, and then winning breeds winning, and so making it to the playoff in consecutive years will help the program. Let's talk a little bit about around the league tonight, Ryan. The conference opens tonight. This is, to me, is the 1 week where the favorites, the consensus favorites, kind of play the opposite side. So
right.
I'll start with Shiloh and Berryville. Just thoughts on that tonight.
There's one of your top 3 teams. Most people would say, and Berryville's going to be one of the teams that struggles. Berryville struggled with Green Forest the other day, a team from a lower classification that they should be beating. And so that is one of those where Shiloh should put up the points. They should be able to throw the ball around and be successful.
Shiloh had an impressive win last week down in Pottsville, shutting out a Pottsville team that had, I think, put up a couple of 40-point games prior to that. So Shiloh came to play. They made a statement last week. Their only loss to Little Rock Christian, who's
a solid
team. And so Shiloh, going to try to get off the right foot. I remember last year we were doing the broadcast, and we got a score from up there, and the score was like 15-12. It was like in the second quarter or something like that. Shiloh was winning 15-12. Our mouths were open, and then Shiloh went on to win pretty big. Next game in the conference is Lincoln at Gravett tonight.
That's going to be one of those. Gravett's picked to place a little bit higher than Lincoln, but that's one of those that you're talking about. If you can steal one of those, Lincoln's now in the conversation for getting that next playoff spot past the Big 3. And that's where Lincoln wants to ride. Lincoln love to be in the Big 3. They're not yet. They know that. They'd love to ride right outside that bubble, but so would Gravett. So that's a big game. That's a big game right there.
It is. Both teams come into the game 1-2. Gravett lost a close one at Ozark to open the season. Got beat by Boonville the week after that, won against Jay, Oklahoma. Lincoln started off with a win against Westville, Oklahoma, and then dropped one to Keys, Oklahoma, and then last week a close one to Mansfield. Last game in the conference, Gentry at Pea Ridge.
Gentry can score. They got the quarterback, Falconberry. They have a dynamic offense. You don't know necessarily the competition because they played Decatur. They played some of the smaller schools, but they're putting up the points. And we saw him last year. We struggled containing him for a little while, but Pea Ridge is Pea Ridge. They're solid on both sides of the ball. Gentry gives up just as much as they score, as evidence of last week versus Greenland.
Well, it's funny because their first 2 games, they win 50-0, 56-7. and that's an average of 53 to 3.5, and then they score 71, so their average goes up to 59. But when you give up 76, your average on giving up goes to 20, almost 28 points a game. I think Gentry will move the ball. I think they will move the ball against Pea Ridge. I think that's a game that could be close early. I think Pea Ridge will pull away. Also, Pea Ridge has the talent to really do it. Well, we're almost ready for kickoff here, Ryan. Let's see.
Looks like Stone Bryant back there in the back with Skates and Watson. And our front guy right there is going to be number 20, Gavin Hiltmus. Gunther and Spinks as our tight end position there on the kickoff return. And then Hankins, Reynolds, Black, Beeson, and probably Pinkley down there on that other end. Yeah, it is. It's 54.
Well, our board tonight has the cool people and the other people in here. So for Huntsville tonight,
you don't know which one you are?
I know which one I am.
Okay, I know
Miles Prue getting ready to kick off for the Eagles, and Prue looking to his right, then to his left, and we are underway. And the kick. Skates is going to get it. He's at the 20. He's looking for a little room. Hit at the 27-yard line. That's a good tackle there by Cyrus Crow. So the Tigers will start first drive. It looks like they're going to mark him at the 28-yard line. 1st and 10 for Prairie Grove.
You will see that Gunther is in tonight. DeMarcus has been nursing an injury, like an ankle, lower leg injury this week. He's been held out of practice, so Gunther will be in at tight end tonight.
Brian, other than our center, we look pretty stout across that line.
Yeah, our center is kind of small. He's one of those smart guys that does all the right things, but he only weighs about 175 pounds. John David for the pass.
John David, he completes it to Stone Bryan, and I think if Stone was trying to run before he got it, if he had caught it clean, I think he had a lot of room because he could have made a move on the defender there. But he does pick up about 7 yards to be 2nd down and 3.
We tease a lot of teams with that flat route right there. Farmington, we picked on them in the flats for quite a while, and finally when Sutton kind of adjusted and got guys in the flat, we started going deep. So we like hitting those flats and kind of abusing them at first.
And now here is the give to Johnson. Johnson hit. He's going to be dropped, only a 1-yard gain. Nice tackle in for the tackle. Cody Ogden is one of the tacklers. And so the Eagles.
Tice knew our offense so well. Coach Absher coached with Tice, and Coach Tice ran the wing tee. And so we came here a couple years ago. We always pull our guards to play side. I remember watching last year, and I was like, both guards are pulling the wrong way. What the heck's going on? But they were keying off of our guards, the linebackers were, and we scored a touchdown on that play.
Right up the middle, that's Preston, and Preston breaks through. He gets the 1st down up around the 48-yard line. Excellent run. He's brought down by number 11. That's Tyler Welch.
I'll try to talk over you a little bit less.
We're all right.
I didn't know if you could see the number or not.
I can see
sometimes
red.
Sometimes you defer. Sometimes when he can't see the number, he pauses.
Yeah,
that means come on.
That's the clue. Here is John David Elder. He's back to throw again. He's got some time. Throws across the middle. That's Gunther, and Gunther gets into Eagle territory down around the 39-yard line.
And nobody's going to know about him. Nobody's going to know about him because we see DeMarcus got this. DeMarcus got that. Gunther's great. He's a solid tight end. He can play quarterback. He's starting on the defensive end. He just got DeMarcus in front of him. It's like DeMarcus had Dylan in front of him.
Well, what's interesting, Ryan, is and I'll make the comment after this play. 1st down and 10 for the Tigers. Ball inside the Eagle 40-yard line. Here is the give again to Aaron Preston. Preston gets a good 5 yards, and he's brought down there by number 50. That is Tyler Smith.
You were going to make a comment about our tight end. We're not tight end we're tight end HS. We're tight end high school.
Well, 2 things. You get the privilege, you work there at the school, so you see these kids. I only see them most of the time in their uniform.
Right.
Today I was in the halls with you chatting for a little bit, and Gunther comes down. He's a pretty good-sized fellow. I didn't realize he's as big as he is.
It's hard to believe he plays quarterback some.
And now here's Johnson. Johnson cuts. He makes a move, and he breaks the tackle.
Nice.
There's Johnson to 30, 25, inside the 20, down to the 15-yard line.
What a great move that time by Johnson. We got a replay on that. Anytime we gain more than 10 yards, Nacho, let's just replay it. You can even go over, so you don't even have to wait for us anymore.
It was excellent that time.
You'll see Johnson go in motion to kind of begin the play, and then a little different look. It's our sweep or our kind of a place to shorter sweep.
There he is. It was a good move, and now there he goes, and he's going to get down there. It's going to bring up first down and 10 for the Tigers at the 15-yard line. Johnson, and here is an option. It goes out to Johnson. He cuts back inside. He gets inside the 15 down to the 12.
That time John David wasn't able to sell it well enough. It never developed well enough. It's almost like it kind of, Johnson came back in motion almost like the last play, but then slowly stepped out trying to keep that space. John David put it in the belly. It didn't sell it enough for me. None of the defenders really attacked anything there.
It was more of a pitch play than a real option play. Yeah, he didn't really option anybody. He pretty much just pitched it out. Second down, yard on the play. Second down and 9 for Prairie Grove. John David Elder this time in the shotgun with Heltemus in the backfield. John David Elder snap, quick throw. It is complete to Gunther, and give him 6.
Wow. It's hard to see from here. You can't see the goal line. So we know he's close. He's dragging 2 guys, and he gets in.
Well, it's an excellent play that time for Prairie Grove, and here it is. It was a quick pass, too. And here's a quick drop.
Stone almost grabbed it. For Colin.
Well, that's 2 targets already tonight for Ethan Gunther.
DeMarcus is going to be upset. I'm just letting you know.
And now the extra point on the way from Beeson. Tigers drive 72 yards for the touchdown. Here's the extra point on the way. On the way, it is good. And with 8:31 to go here in the first quarter, it's Prairie Grove 7, Huntsville 0. That touchdown sponsored by PG Telco, as they have sponsored all touchdowns